Australia has just implemented one of the strictest immigration crackdowns in recent history, leading to mass visa cancellations, stricter regulations, and an uncertain future for thousands of students. But why? Why is this happening now? What led to this drastic move? And most importantly, what does this mean for students who are already in Australia, or those who are planning to come? Let's break it down. The announcement that shook the world. On January 1st, 2025, the Australian government announced a major shift in its student visa policies. For years, Australia was one of the top destinations for international students. In fact, education was one of its biggest industries, bringing in billions of dollars every year. But in 2024, things started to change. Housing shortages, rising cost of living, and reports of student visa misuse pushed the government to take drastic action. Now, they've capped new student enrollments at 270,000 per year, a sharp drop from previous years. And they didn't stop there. Visa fees skyrocketed, English language requirements became stricter, and compliance checks became more aggressive than ever. And here's the real kicker. Many students already studying in Australia are also at risk of having their visas revoked. Why is this happening? So, what caused this sudden crackdown? Housing crisis and living costs. The struggle to find a roof over your head. If you've been following Australian real estate trends, you will know that housing affordability has reached a breaking point, and international students are caught in the middle of it. Sydney and Melbourne, Australia's most popular student destinations, have seen record-breaking rent hikes. In some areas, rent prices have surged by over 30% in just 1 year. Students who once paid $250 per week for a shared room now find themselves shelling out over $400 for a tiny space in a crowded apartment. Why is this happening? High demand, low supply. More people are moving to cities than there are available homes. Universities attract tens of thousands of international students every year, yet the number of new housing developments hasn't kept up. This shortage means landlords can charge whatever they want, knowing that someone desperate for a place will pay. Short-term rentals and investors. Many properties that once housed students have been converted into Airbnbs or short-term rentals because landlords can make more money from tourists. This reduces the number of available apartments for students, pushing prices even higher. Hostility towards international students. Some local Australians blame international students for making housing unaffordable, arguing that they are outbidding locals and taking over rental spaces. This perception has fueled resentment and negative policies, leading to stricter visa rules. The reality? International students are just trying to survive. They are not the cause of the housing crisis. They are victims of it. Exploitation of the student visa system, how it all went wrong. The Australian student visa was designed for one purpose, to allow international students to study. But over time, cracks in the system started to show. Students working full-time jobs. Officially, student visa holders are only allowed to work 48 hours per fortnight, 24 hours per week. However, many students were forced to work beyond this limit just to survive. Employers took advantage of this, hiring students under the table for cash, underpaying them, and threatening deportation if they complained. Education as a backdoor to migration. Some students weren't coming to study at all. They enrolled in courses as a loophole to enter Australia, planning to switch to work visas or stay indefinitely. This led to a rise in dodgy private colleges that existed just to issue student visas, with little actual education being provided. Government cracked down on ghost students. Immigration authorities discovered that some students weren't even attending classes. They were enrolled but spent their time working instead. The government responded by introducing strict monitoring, checking attendance records, banking transactions, and even personal messages for signs of visa fraud. Because of these issues, the entire system has come under scrutiny, and genuine students are now paying the price for those who misuse the system. Economic pressure. Why Australia is cracking down hard. After the pandemic, Australia faced massive economic challenges. Job market competition. Unemployment among Australian citizens rose, and politicians faced pressure to prioritize locals over migrants. International students were seen as competing for jobs, even though most were just trying to support themselves. Government budget strain. Public services, like healthcare, transport, and housing, were under strain. The government argued that the student visa program was becoming too big to manage, leading to heavier restrictions. Rising anti-migration sentiment. In an election year, politicians wanted to appear tough on immigration to win votes. The government saw cutting student visas as an easy way to show they were controlling migration numbers. Real stories. When dreams turn into nightmares. Let's talk about Raj, a 24-year-old student from India. He spent his family's entire savings to study in Australia. He arrived in Melbourne, excited to start his degree, but at the airport, immigration officials asked to check his phone. They found messages discussing work shifts that exceeded the allowed hours. His visa was cancelled on the spot. He was sent back to India within 24 hours, without even stepping foot in his university. Then there's Maria from the Philippines. She was already studying in Australia when she received an unexpected email from immigration authorities. It stated that her visa was under review due to new compliance regulations. A few weeks later, she got the dreaded notice. Her visa was revoked. She had 1 month to leave the country. These are just two of thousands of similar cases happening in 2025. What does this mean for current international students? If you're already studying in Australia, here's what you need to know. Stricter work limits. Students can now work only 48 hours per fortnight, down from previous temporary relaxations. If you exceed this, you risk immediate deportation. Increased visa scrutiny. Immigration officers are monitoring student activity more closely than ever. If they find any inconsistencies, whether in your bank statements, job history, or even social media activity, you could lose your visa. Higher costs. The visa application fee jumped from $710 to a shocking $1,600 in 2024. If you want to extend your stay, you'll have to pay even more. Uncertainty for future studies. Many universities had already offered seats to students for 2025, but with a new cap in place, thousands of these offers might now be revoked. How to survive in Australia as an international student now. If you're planning to study in Australia, or you're already there, here's what you need to do to protect yourself. Follow the visa rules to the letter. Don't exceed work hours, and keep all your records clean. Avoid any fraudulent job offers. Scammers are targeting desperate students with fake job opportunities that violate visa conditions. Keep backup funds. If things go south, make sure you have enough money to leave or find alternative solutions. Stay updated. Immigration laws are changing rapidly, and what's allowed today might be illegal tomorrow. Final thoughts. Is studying in Australia still worth it? This is the question every international student is asking right now. Is it still worth coming to Australia? The answer depends on your situation. If you have a solid financial backup, a clear study plan, and you're willing to follow the new rules strictly, Australia can still be a great place to study. But if you're relying on working extra hours to survive, or if you're coming with vague plans, it's now riskier than ever. The Australian government says these changes are necessary to protect its economy and resources. But for international students, it feels like the rug has been pulled from under their feet. What do you think? Is this a fair move by Australia, or is it too extreme? Have you or someone you know been affected by these changes? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on more critical news like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.